Hello, today we are going to cover the important engineering training series on retrieval augmented generation. Okay, from first principles to production grade system. In this training, we're going to be talking about the comprehensive technical session on embeddings, chunking, semantic search, vector databases, retrieval pipelines evaluation, and enterprise production architecture. Okay, this is mainly for AI engineers, ML engineers, data scientists, enterprise architects. Okay, the this is going to be a series of lectures because we are not going to be able to cover all of the topics in one go. So we're going to be dividing them into several sections. But the overall session roadmap is it contains almost 16 sessions where we're going to be starting off with the introduction to RAG. Okay, and then we're going to be following up with building blocks of RAG, the RAG pipeline, the chunking strategies, embeddings, okay, sentence embeddings, semantic search, the retrieval, the LLM layer, okay, the knowledge search checks, evaluation metrics, production RAG, real world use cases, okay, the best practices, common mistakes, and summary and the future of RAG. Okay, so let's start off with the section one, which is the introduction to RAG. What RAG is, why it exists, limitations of standalone LLM it was designed to solve. Okay, so if you think about RAG, and if if anyone knows, ask you what RAG is basically a retrieval augmented generation. Okay, it is an architecture pattern that couples an information uh, retrieval system with a generative LLM. So most of the LLM models that we are using, the frontier models, are basically a standalone models. Okay, RAG is basically again an additional information retrieval system that gets added on top of the the frontier models that we are running currently. So before generating a response, the system retrieves relevant, up-to-date documents or passages from an external data knowledge source. Right, this retrieved context is injected into the LLM's prompt as context, so the model generates answers grounded in real evidence rather than the memory alone. So formally, the RAG was basically a retrieval, which finds the relevant knowledge, and then you have the generator, which basically is the LLM that synthesizes a grounded answer. Okay, so an enterprise chatbot asked, "What is our refund policy for enterprise contract?" The answer would be to get the current legacy and policy document and answer using that exact text instead of guessing from the training data that the frontier model or the LLM models were trained on. Okay, so RAG, the key takeaway over here is that the RAG turns an LLM from a closed book exam taker into an open book one. It looks things up before answering any of those user question, a very specific user question, again related to the specific industry or sector or domain expertise. Okay, so why RAG exists? The reason is again there are limitations to the standalone LLMs. The first one is hallucinations, right? Models generate fluent but factually incorrect statements when they lack real knowledge because next token prediction optimizes for plausibility, not truth. That's one of the problems. The other is the knowledge cutoff. Okay, pre-training data has a fixed cutoff date. The model cannot know about events, prices, or documents created after training. There's a missing domain knowledge. Okay, you have the proprietary internal or niche domain knowledge, that is a contracts internal wikis research reports was never in the training corpus at all. So there's definitely a missing domain knowledge within the standalone LLM models. And then you have the stale unverifiable answers, okay, without citation. Enterprises cannot audit why a model gave an answer, a blocker for regulated industries like finance and healthcare. Okay, so the key takeaway over here is that RAG directly targets all four failure modes by grounding, generation, and retrieval, current and domain specific evidence. So if you think about it in this form, like, this is one of the examples that we gave before, is that the closed end versus the open book, right? If you look at it from a closed end perspective, that's a traditional LLM model. Okay, you have the user query that comes in. It goes into the standalone LLM model, which is basically frozen in terms of the knowledge with the pre-trained knowledge, and then it answers, and it can give you an hallucinated or outdated answer. Whereas the RAG pipeline, you have the user input, and then it retrieves the information from the document using the vector DB database that has been set up, and then the LLM generates answers grounded in retrieve context. Okay, so same model, different outcome. The only structural change is inserting a retrieval step before generation. Okay, so some of the important uses of RAG in enterprises are that it connects the abstract architecture to concrete enterprise deployment patterns. Okay, you have the employees query internal wiki. So if you look at it from an enterprise search perspective, right, you have the internal wiki, SharePoint, Confluence with natural language instead of keyword search. You have the support agent chat box ground answers in product docs, ticket history, and policy manuals. You have analysts querying research reports, filings, and market data with cited and audible answers. On the healthcare side, you have the clinical assistants retrieved from the medical literature and patient records under strict compliance controls. And then you have the legal contract review and case law research grounded in verified legal corpora, which is basically reducing the citation hallucination. And you have the HR and onboarding, which is basically an employees asking for policy question answering from the current HR handbook, not a stale model snapshot. So any domain with large changing and proprietary corpus of documents is a strong RAG candidate. So if you look at the overall recap, what we have discussed is that RAG is basically a retrieval plus the generator. It's grounded in the LLM, which answers and retrieve evidence. It exists to solve the hallucination, knowledge cutoff, missing domain knowledge, and lack of auditability. And the only structural additional, addition is that if you looking at from a standalone LLM perspective, it is going to actually add a retrieval step, okay, before generation. And the enterprise adoption spans search, support, finance, healthcare, legal, and HR. So this recaps the introduction of RAG. We will talk more about RAG pipelines in the next session.